Hello, and welcome to Your Sparkly Brand. We're here to inspire and empower female entrepreneurs like you. On this podcast, we share valuable how-to content, discuss common mindset challenges, and interview kick-ass women business owners about their journeys. In a world that tries to pit females against each other, Your Sparkly Brand is celebrating successful women, nurturing the next generation, and uplifting each other. I'm Lauren Tassi, and I'm here with my co-host Megan Gersh and our very special guest for today.
Hello, we are so excited to have Heather here with us today. She has worked with Superman, Chanel, and Burger King, and now she is building her very own business, Magnolia Black. Heather has traveled the world and also landed in Atlanta, where now she is navigating the waters of entrepreneurship. So welcome to Your Sparkly Brand, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I'm so excited to listen. First of all, I was so excited to hear that you guys have a podcast. I cannot wait to listen to every single episode. I've already listened to the first two, and even more excited to be here with you guys. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Heather's got her sparkles on too. It's like a good time to pull out, I think, the old New Year's Eve outfits.
Yeah.
It's like not just once a year.
Yes, I was saying I had to dig deep in my closet, and it is actually like a long dress that I've got on over jeans. So you don't even see all of that. But yes, I am super excited. It definitely makes you like, it's a whole vibe. It makes you feel like super, ready to celebrate. I like it.
Yeah, there's a certain energy that comes with just being sparkly, having a sparkly outfit on or something kind of like with a little pizzazz. So we like to bring that energy to the podcast.
For sure. It definitely, I think I might just like start wearing them to meetings now. I think you guys have changed my life. So thank you.
So before we jump into your story, Heather, we do this thing on here and we really like to share our sparkly moment of the week. It's something you feel good about, like a little win. Like, what are you celebrating? Meg, do you want to go first? What was your sparkly moments?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just started this brand new audiobook called The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins. I'm sure you guys have heard and know of Mel Robbins. She's amazing. And it essentially kind of touches on the kind of concept that entrepreneurship can be super hard, and it can be really easy to forget to celebrate your wins and just celebrate being yourself as a human being. And it's really, really easy to sometimes, get down on yourself, like see things that perhaps didn't go your way or, that kind of thing. And this is just a really great listen or a read for anyone that struggles with that feeling of like never doing enough. And it also really helps with releasing those blockages that may be preventing you from taking the next level in your business.
Oh my God, I need to check that out. That's like exactly what I've been struggling with lately.
Yeah. So when I've been listening to this, I swear Mel just has a way of writing that like, I just keep thinking to myself, like, was this book written for me? Like, you have to listen to it. It's so good.
Awesome. And Heather, do you have a sparkly moment of the week you want to share with us?
So I was thinking about this question, and I know it's going to totally sound like I'm sucking up to you guys, but the stars have aligned for me because I was talking to my biz bestie, and we were going through like plans for the rest of the year for my business. And I was like, I need to start getting on podcasts, and she was going to start helping me. And literally that day, Megan reached out to me. So totally not just, saying this to say it, but being on the podcast today is totally my sparkly moment for the week.
That is awesome. I love that so much. You manifested it.
I did. Yeah. It's crazy how that works. I'm totally a believer now. So yeah, 100%.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. And thank you. That means a lot to us. So my moment is something that like all the coaches and people I've worked with have always suggested I do, and I never have actually done, was to like take a day and actually like treat yourself and like kind of plan your business, like big picture goals, like get away from like the daily grind of things. And I actually like on Friday scheduled myself a CEO day. And I went and like took a fancy workout class in the morning, and then I went and worked from a coffee shop, and then I went and got a facial in the afternoon. So it was sort of nice to like actually be like, okay, I'm finally doing this thing that everybody has said to do. And then when I was at the coffee shop, I was just sort of like doing like 90-day goals, 1-year goals, sort of what needs to happen to really move things forward.
Did you feel totally refreshed after? Did it do its job?
I did. The one mistake I made, it was like 95 degrees here in LA that day. The coffee shop I went to was like a totally outdoor coffee shop. So I was like, sort of like, okay, this is supposed to be nice, but it was like kind of uncomfortable. So next time I will, plan better for the weather. But yes, I did. I was just like, oh, this is it. I'm a CEO, you know?
I love that so much. Don't you love entrepreneurship?
I do. It's so great.
It's definitely a roller coaster. And I think, yeah, that's something I need to work on, is taking more time. My husband keeps telling me, like, you've got to turn it off. And I'm in the beginning phases of entrepreneurship and getting the business off the ground. And it's like your head just keeps going. There's always wheels turning. So I think I'm going to plan a CEO day. Thank you for the inspiration.
Yes, everyone should.
Totally. Well, that feels like a good kind of segue into, let's chat a little bit about Heather. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, what you do, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So I guess all the way back, I got my marketing degree. I feel like I've been in the marketing world for a bazillion years. I got my degree back when Facebook was a baby and you had to have the university email to even have an account, which feels like a million years ago. I thought I was going to walk out of college and into that fancy, corner office in the cool advertising agency in the middle of a big city like you see on the movies, but that does not happen for everybody. It did not happen for me. And then shortly after, I met a boy who lived in London, and he eventually, we got to the point and he was like, do you want to move out to London? And before he had even finished that sentence, like, I had my bags packed. I was applying for my first passport. I was like, yes. I applied for the London School of Marketing because I had to go over on a student visa and I wanted to work on my master's anyway. So I went out there and studied. And honestly, when I got out there, I was doing all the things. I was reading the books and taking the classes. And I just kind of got disenchanted with everything because I was getting nowhere. I was applying for internships and jobs and nothing was happening for me because it's very much, you need to know somebody, and I knew nobody in London. So we got married and we decided to go on a big trip. We packed a bag and backpacked around the world for around 8.5 months. But as fate would have it, on a beach in Thailand, of all places, I met somebody who changed my life, and she was a marketer back in London. We started talking, and she was my person that I needed to get my foot in the door. And she was like, let's talk when we get back. And we happened to be getting back at the same time. And she got me my first job in an agency in London, and it was a market research company. And I was doing work for Chanel and brands like that. I was learning the psychology behind marketing, behind the buyer journey and the customer journey. And it just blew my mind. And then the two of us, we moved to another agency together where I was working on accounts like Burger King. And it was such a cool agency. Everybody was just so cool. It was the movie agency that I wanted when I graduated in the heart of downtown London. And I absolutely loved it. I learned so much. I remember just walking around with stars in my eyes, just absorbing everything like a sponge. And I fell back in love with marketing. We decided to start a family. We moved back to the States and things started slowing down a little bit. And I was okay with it. I always had my pulse on what was happening in the world of marketing and watching social media evolve, because it slowly turned into the beast that it is now. And, friends and family would reach out to me because they knew what I did. They needed help with their business. And I loved it. I loved helping the small businesses. And I realized then that that's where I wanted to be. I wanted, that was fun. It was glamorous what I did, but being a part of somebody's story and being a part of somebody's like passion, and they've thrown their entire like world into these businesses, and being a part of that success story, that felt really personal to me. So I was like, this is where I want to be. So I joined an agency here in the Atlanta area, and I learned even more. I learned a lot of stuff about how I wouldn't run an agency. And that's good too. Like it's always, every experience is a lesson. I remember the day that I decided to leave. I was moving my stuff out of my office. It was raining. I was doing it on my own. And I started getting calls because people saw that I was leaving the office and they were like, where are you going? And can we come? And I'd already had a couple clients set up, and it just hit me. I was like, this is the time to do it. I've got clients. I finally feel confident in my skills and my abilities. Like, this is the time to do it. I've always wanted to start my own business. And that's kind of how Magnolia Black was born. And now I'm like knee deep, or I guess waist deep, in entrepreneurship and just, treading the waters here and trying to figure it all out.
That's so awesome. I love your story so much. So in the last episode that we just recorded, we were talking a little bit about how to find your ideal clients. And we also kind of touched on like boundaries and stuff like that. But it's interesting that you mentioned like how you would not want to run an agency, because I feel like that's just as important to kind of like learn those things about yourself. Like, what you do like and what you will put up with versus what you will not. And I think like in the next episode that we're recording, we will be talking about boundaries. So more on that to come.
Yeah, I actually just had a call with another social media manager last week about boundaries because I have none with my clients right now. And I'm definitely that is a huge lesson as an entrepreneur to learn. And I am learning it. A lot of hard lessons the hard way, but for sure I will be tuning into that one.
When you made the shift from working for somebody else, working in an agency, going to an office every day versus, doing your own thing, starting out, how was like the day-to-day, like managing your schedule, just sort of getting your, like that transition? What was that like?
That was probably actually one of the biggest struggles for me because I'm such a social butterfly, and we worked in a co-working space. That's where the office was. And so there was constant networking and constant talking to people. And then I went to here in my home office, and it was kind of lonely, to be honest. And I would go find coffee shops, and I was like buying memberships at co-working spaces just to be around people because I feel inspired and motivated when I'm around other people. But it was definitely an adjustment. I think I'm finally in a good place with that now. I found tools, and I've reached out to other people in my network and just asked for their advice. And I think that's the best thing that I've ever done, is just really just been vulnerable and asked people for advice and taken it, because, we learn from each other so much.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because essentially, like, of course, there are lots of entrepreneurs and thought leaders in our space that all have a different way of like how to approach getting clients, or like managing your time, or like how to run your business. But essentially there's no like one guidebook, right? Like we're all having to like test out different things, make mistakes along the way, and like figure out like what's the best way for me, like what feels good to me in my business. So I just find that really interesting that like everybody has a different approach. So when you were kind of figuring out like what networking kind of strategies work for you, how to find new clients, or are there any kind of standout strategies that you use in your business?
So the thing that has worked best for me, and it's something that I keep telling people, because I've not marketed myself. I've not spent any money on marketing. And the one thing that has helped my business grow is just having real conversations with people. So even if I'm going to a networking event and I've lined my calendar with networking events, in person, virtual, just getting my name out there and talking to people, I don't approach anybody as a potential client. I just listen to their stories. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last year, because I saw a lot of people, they would walk up to you, Megan, and kind of pitch themselves. If it wasn't a fit, you never talk to them again. And I would sit there, because I'm genuinely interested in what people have to say, because every single brand, every business has a story behind it, and I want to know it. And because I would sit there and listen and maybe offer a little bit of advice here or there if I had it to give, even if we weren't a good fit, they were referring me to their friends. And I've gotten so many leads just off of people, even people who aren't going to use me as use my business. They've sent me leads because they know, I genuinely care about them and the businesses that I work with. So I guess my networking right now, the one piece of advice I have for networking is just really listen to people, because you never know, even if you're never going to work with that person, you could work with all of their friends, and you're going to be the first person they think of when, somebody needs whatever skills you offer.
Yeah, definitely. I would totally agree with you on that. And I can't tell you how many times, like I've had a conversation like that with just somebody that I met at a networking event, or even just like going out a lot in LA. Like I work primarily in the music industry. And so like going out is just kind of part of the culture. And when you go out and you just start talking to people, you happen to get to talking about what you do, if that comes up in conversation. I can't even tell you how many times I've had that conversation, and 6 months, a year later, a year and a half later, those are the people that refer me to their friends, or that reach back out to me being like, hey, do you still do this? Or are you accepting new clients right now? I have something for you. So you never know when you approach relationships as just a human first kind of situation, you never know what can come of that. And when you're genuinely invested in hearing somebody's story, like you never know like what can come out of that potential relationship.
Exactly. And even networking within TikTok has been a blessing. I mean, that's how I met you. And I've met so many incredible people in this space, just networking with who you might consider a competitor, because now I've got this person in my network that I can't tell you how many people I've reached out to just like in the last 2 weeks with questions, because I had some issues with Reels, and I reached out on Instagram to several different social media managers. I mean, technically they're my competitors, but I know that I can reach out to them, and I've sent them work when I couldn't take it. They're sending me work when they don't have time for it, or maybe it's not a good fit. Well, if we collaborate more with each other and stop seeing each other as competitors, the world kind of opens up. And I've not only built my network of potential clients and potential leads, but just my network of people just to help and build and motivate. And that is invaluable as well. And we maybe don't necessarily appreciate that as much because we're always looking for the sale. But at the end of the day, like the network that I've built of just like-minded people who motivate me and help me out it's invaluable, especially as an entrepreneur.
I love that. I think you said a while back, you said you haven't spent any money on marketing for your business, right? So you're a marketer who doesn't spend money on marketing. When you were starting out, making that transition from working for somebody else and starting your own business, like what did you come up with your own marketing strategy? What about branding? Like, I'm just like curious about like your thought process as a marketer, as somebody who's, like seen what you don't want done in an agency. How did you kind of come up with your own strategy?
When I left the agency, I left with a few clients of my own who came with me, and so I had that kind of safety net. And then like I said, the stars kind of aligned for me, and I had people referring clients to me, and I just my roster filled up really quickly, and to a point where I had to figure out how to scale properly, because I didn't want to sink my ship before I set sail, if that makes sense. And I've really just utilized social media. TikTok has been a blessing. I think, Megan is in that space too. I've gotten so many leads off of just TikTok and making educational content, providing value in that way. I think eventually I'm still very early on. I've just gotten my, the back end of the business is getting set up now with my email automations and all of that kind of stuff. So I am starting to spend money on the back end, but in terms of like advertising myself, I haven't done any of that. But social media is the name of the game for me. We've seen TikTok, for example, they invested, I think, like $1 billion into educational creators because they saw the value in just offering free educational content. And when marketers jumped on board to that, and really any industry, I think you can see it on TikTok and stuff, you just start offering free advice and people come to you and they want to work with you, and it's free.
So Team TikTok.
I'm trying to jump on the Instagram train, but it's a much harder train to drive for sure.
Yeah. Not to mention, like in the past, like 2 months, there have been like mega Instagram updates. Like I feel like every 2 or 3 days, there's like another update coming out from Instagram being like, by the way, use this many hashtags. By the way, this is the type of content that we prefer. It's hard to keep up. even as somebody in marketing, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. And then we just saw the big blackout yesterday, which that was kind of my wake up call, because I mean, I know it as a marketer that it's borrowed land and we don't need to put all of our eggs in that basket. So the goal for the rest of the year is to build my email list and to create the lead magnets that I need to get people in my own real estate. But yeah, I think Instagram is a whole nother just beast. It's hard for clients. It's hard for everybody because, yeah, like you said, they keep changing everything every 5 minutes. Whereas TikTok sees organic growth like no other algorithm, and it gives creators big and small every opportunity to get their name out there. So that's why I'm team TikTok.
So let's talk a little bit about, are there entrepreneurs, business owners that you kind of look to as inspiration in your business? Are there like mentors that you follow?
Yeah. So, I think the typical marketer answer is like the Gary V's of the world. And not to keep going back to TikTok, but I built such a great network of people in that space and this is not an exaggeration, every single day that I get on there and I start scrolling, because my algorithm just feeds me mostly marketers, I learn something every single day, whether it's how many hashtags to use on Instagram, or, a new way to put stories up on Instagram, a new way to shoot a TikTok video. And all of these things I apply to help my clients. So the people that I look for inspiration are the people that are in my space, the people that are entrepreneurs themselves, that are starting the small businesses, that focus on small businesses. Because like I said, I know I can reach out to them, and I have reached out to them, whether it's for, event session or a brainstorming session, because they're really doing the things that I'm doing, and they're doing them in really awesome ways. I've seen many of them grow from, we all kind of started, I feel, TikTok at the same time, and I've seen them blow up and I've seen their growth, and it inspires me and it motivates me to want to be better. So I kind of do look to the people and my friends in the space on social media.
And are there certain brands that like, who would you love to work with, or who do you think is doing like something super innovative right now in terms of social media and, any sort of marketing?
This was a hard one for me because I'm constantly looking at brands and just seeing what they're doing, especially in the space my clients are in. One that stuck out to me though, and if any of my friends listen to this podcast, they're going to laugh at me because they know how obsessed I am with it, is Crumble Cookies. I love the branding, across the board, but even if you walk in to a Crumble Cookie, which I do way too often, like they've got iPhone shaped, things on the walls that are showing TikToks of user generated content. Wow. And I find that so interesting because you're seeing that on so many brands. You're seeing it in Burger King. I think Applebee's put one out of TikToks and reels that people are putting out. Zara is one of my favorite clothing brands, and they are even putting, TikToks and reels on their front page of their website. So I think I don't have a particular brand besides Crumble, because I'm hoping they hear this in some off chance and then give me a lifetime supply of cookies. But I just find it really interesting to watch how all brands are starting to use the user generated content, because I think that's what we're going to see more of, the less like highly produced stuff and the more just like authentic people picking up their phones and giving honest feedback on brands.
Okay. Very important question. Favorite flavor of Crumble cookie?
Oh my gosh. The base, you have to go back to the basics, and it's the sugar cookie, or maybe I don't know. It's the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had in my entire life. So my kids are like, I have notifications set up for Crumble Cookie on Instagram, and me and my kids watch. We're like, what is it going to be this week?
That's so funny. We don't have one here in LA that's close to us. We have one, I think there's one in Orange County, but that's it's like an hour or so drive away from kind of where Lauren and I live. But I hope one day to experience the wonder that is Crumble Cookies, because everyone raves about it. So
I'm really glad it's an hour away, because I did one day, I was like, there's got to be one in LA. And I did the whole like locations, and I was like, you know what, this is good. This is better that it's, that hard to get to.
I honestly wish mine was an hour away. I remember the first week my friend and I went, and there was this little lady in the parking lot, and she was like, which flavor did you get when we came out? And we were like, the chocolate chip. And she was like, this is my 5th time this week here. And she was like addicted out in the parking lot. And I was like, this is going to be us soon. I'm sure of it. So.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Well, maybe one day, Lauren and I, we can go together, Lauren. Yeah.
We'll do the podcast in the car.
Reporting live from Crumble Cookies. So how long have you been doing your own business?
I technically started around May. So okay. Yeah, it's not been too long.
So since May, have there been any like very valuable tools that you've discovered, or any kind of like recommends that you can make to the audience about like things that can help them save time, save money within kind of the branding, marketing kind of business sphere?
Yeah. So, I can list off all the different bazillion programs that are out there to use to, the team management tools like Asana and things like that. Canva, of course, I use every day because I'm not a graphic designer like you guys. I'm not super creative, but that saves my life. But the one thing I think has been a game changer for me, and I've made like several videos about it because it's like changed my life that much. And I think you probably already know what I'm going to say. I finally reached a point in my business that I've admitted that I needed help. I wasn't quite ready to hire an employee yet. So I hired a virtual assistant, and it changed the game for me. I found an amazing woman who's helps all the back end stuff, because as an entrepreneur, you get so bogged down in the admin work and, the day-to-day stuff that you don't really get to focus on the things you love as much. And it can drag you down, and you don't feel like you're being as productive as you need to be. So when I finally gave up the reins and delegated and hired a virtual assistant, it saved me time. I was able to grow even more. She has helped me just beyond even what I expected. So I would highly recommend, if you're at a point in your business that you do need help, if you're not quite ready for an employee or a full-time employee, to look into virtual assistants.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I have you to thank for that as well, just because I thankfully was able to connect with you on that. And I am actually working with the same virtual assistant, and it has been absolutely incredible, life-changing. Highly recommend for any entrepreneur that is ready to get some extra help in their business.
I actually have an interview with a virtual assistant tomorrow morning. So We
Ooh.
are right on the same path. Yeah. I struggle so much with being like, let me just do everything myself. And that's just like, you can't grow that way. Like you're just gonna be swamped. So I'm doing my best to give that all up and delegate.
It is hard to kind of let go, especially because I mean, it's your baby and every piece of it is your baby. So there's a transition period. So allow yourself that little bit of grace to hand stuff over. But once you do, and your time is freed up from the million emails you have to answer a day and all that kind of stuff, it really does open you back up to be able to focus on the things that you really love to do.
Now, if you could give your younger business self, and maybe she's just a few months younger, or maybe this is back when you were still at the agency and kind of planning your move. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. So it's so funny. I jumped on a live today with Megan and she was talking about Mel Robbins, and then you just talked about her again. And she, like I said, she's been popping up on my social media everywhere. And she had a video recently that I saw, and it resonated so hard with me because it's so true. And the video was, she was like, nobody's going to show up for you. Nobody's going to knock on your door, pull you out of bed and make you do what you have to do so you can be everything. And I wish that I'd had that in the past. Like, I wish I had that motivation to say, it's up to you. Like, nobody's going to come make you go exercise or make you wake up in the morning or make you do the extra work to make sure that, that deadline is met. It's got to be up to you, and you have to wake up every morning prepared to do that. So Mel Robbins has changed my life as well. So yeah, I think just make sure that you're prepared and you're ready and you're not relying on anybody else, because at the end of the day, you are your biggest asset.
Yeah, I love that. That's such good advice. I think I've seen that same video that you're talking about. Maybe we can find a video of it and link it in the show notes. So Heather, are there any upcoming projects that you're super excited about? Any cool clients that you're working with right now that you're able to talk about?
Yeah, so I've got a few really cool clients. One, though, I'm pretty excited about. It's Atlanta Sustainable Fashion Week. It's at the end of the month. It's going to be smaller than we originally planned because of that little pandemic that's still raging. But it's a passion project for the woman who started it, and because of her, I've learned so much about the fashion industry. Fast fashion and the impact it has on the world, whether environmentally or humanitarian. It's an incredible cause. There are some really cool, innovative designers that are doing amazing things with sustainable fashion. I even noticed a Levi's commercial last night on TV, really geared towards sustainable fashion. So it's something that a lot of people are paying more attention to. So we are working on that event at the end of the month. If you want to follow, it's ATLSFW. There's some really exciting things happening. It's the first, hopefully, of many to come.
That sounds super cool. And we can put a link to that in the show notes too.
Oh, awesome. Yes. And if anybody's in the Atlanta area and wants to come, make sure you buy a ticket.
And then where can our listeners find you online if they're interested in, some of your services? Where are you hanging out?
So as I mentioned a million times already, I'm on TikTok at the Magnolia Black, and Instagram is at the same handle. And you can find me on my website at themagnoliablack.com.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. This is so fun to chat with you, and so many valuable knowledge nuggets in this episode. Like, I hope that folks got a lot of value out of this. I certainly did. So thank you so much for joining us, and listeners, thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. We're just a little baby podcast, so reviews are crucial to growing our audience right now. We are so grateful to have your support. And until next time, stay sparkly.
Bye.